All right. The subject this evening is, what should I do when I have the opportunity to over-ruff? Should I over-ruff or should I discard? Have any of you ever considered discarding instead of over-ruffing?
Yeah.
I can tell you when I was at your stage, I never did. I thought, well, it must be right to over-ruff. Why would I not over-ruff? And then one day, one of the better players who knew I was trying to emerge from my novice cocoon took me aside and said, Susan, it's not always right to over-ruff. Think about it a little bit. And don't do it automatically. Often you'll get 2 tricks instead of 1 if you don't over-ruff. So I did a little looking around and I found a guideline. Guideline's not the same thing as a rule. Remember that. This is a guideline, kind of like Mel's Rule of 8 or Mel's Rule of 2. A rule is the rule of 11. It's mathematical and it always works. This is a guideline. In general, when a defender has the opportunity to ruff an opponent's trick, it's right to do it. If the declarer has led a winner and you're out and you have a trump, generally it's right to ruff it, particularly if it's a small trump that won't otherwise take a trick. That's generally the right thing to do in most situations. But it becomes a completely different situation when the subject is over-ruffing. Sometimes there's some guesswork involved in knowing what's the right thing, but there's a guideline out there that can help you with the guesswork. If you have a high trump honor, and assuming that you're going to get a trick with it, even if you do not over-ruff, here's what the guideline says. Over-ruff with any singleton. I would say maybe not a singleton ace, but any singleton maybe other than the trump ace. You know, the trump ace is like your money. You can only spend it once. So you want to think about what you do with it ahead of time. But if you have a doubleton king low, do you think the declarer will know that you've unguarded your king if you ruff with a little one? Maybe he still has to take that trump finesse and you'll still get a trick with the king. If you have a doubleton queen low or a tripleton queen low, you should over-ruff with one of those holdings as well, unless you think your partner is also short in the suit and he may ruff. Otherwise, discard. Now, that may sound like a fairly straightforward guideline, but the first time I read it, I said, I don't get this. What does this mean? So let's look at an example here. Here's the bidding. This is the north hand right here, east, south, west. The dealer is east. East-west are vulnerable. East starts out with 1 diamond. South jumps in with 3 hearts. I mean, this is not bad. This is favorable vulnerability. So he's crowding the bidding as much as he can. West says, oh, well, all right, too rich for my blood. I mean, the 1 level's too rich for his blood, isn't it? And your partner is sitting there with a nice hand. So he says 4 hearts. West, being the good partner that he is, leads his partner suit. And since he has 2 of them, he leads the higher one first. Okay. Now, which card should East play here? Just to remind everybody, the queen, the lowest one of touching honors. Then he leads the ace. Remember, when leading, you lead the top of touching honors. So he takes the trick with the king, then leads the ace, and then puts the king on the table. Declarer ruffs with the 10 of hearts. Should West over-ruff with the king? That's the question. Anybody have an opinion? First off, you have to ask yourself, where are our defensive tricks coming from? If he over-ruffs, look what happens. The ace is singleton in the dummy. That means that card will take a trick. The queen will take a trick, but the 10 and the king are gone, and partner's jack of hearts is now promoted into a winner. So the defense gets 2 diamond tricks, a ruff, and a trump trick to set the contract 1 trick. Now, it's possible that the declarer will get it right, even if West doesn't over-ruff. He may figure out how to do it. He play a heart to the ace, lead a heart back to the spade, and then have to guess whether to lead the queen or the 10. He doesn't know that the king is singleton now, since 1 round has been led, and he may get it right. But if you don't over-ruff, you give him a chance to get it right. Whereas if you do over-ruff, he doesn't have a chance. He loses a trick to the king and the over-ruff, and then also 1 to the jack of hearts. In this case, that guideline is absolutely right. King low doubleton. When you have a king low doubleton in the trump suit, over-ruff. Most of the time, it's the right thing. What about other situations? How about a situation where the guideline doesn't apply? In this case, the defender holds king 10-4 in the trump suit, and he has the opportunity to over-ruff. But let's watch what happens if that old devil on his shoulder wins out, telling him to over-ruff. Let's watch what happens. The guideline doesn't apply in this situation because this is not king low doubleton, it's not queen low doubleton or queen low tripleton. This is king third, so the guideline doesn't apply here. East opens a heart, south bids overcalls 1 spade, west bids 1 no trump, and north bids 3 spades. Now, west is on lead. He's got the king 9 in his partner's suit, so of course he leads the king. Then when he follows with the 9, his partner is just pretty dang sure that he only had a doubleton. After all, he bid 1 no trump. He didn't bid 2 hearts, he bid 1 no trump. That generally indicates only 2 card support. Well, now you can turn his head to the right here and see these 4 hearts in the dummy over here. He's got 5, his partner's got 2, and so he knows the declarer has 2. I mean, he can see 9 of them. He's positive his partner had 2, so that means declarer has to have 2 of them left. He thinks, could my partner over-ruff the declarer? I don't know. Let's try it. I don't see anything any better here. I don't particularly want to lead out the ace of diamonds with a singleton here and maybe set up the declarer's king. I definitely don't want to lead a club. And I have a singleton trump, and it's generally not a good idea when I'm thinking about trying to give my partner a ruff to lead a trump instead. So that pretty much leaves the heart. That pretty much leads the heart to bleed. Should West over-ruff? If South ruffs with the queen, should he over-ruff with the king? What do you think? Watch what happens if he does. The defenders will have taken 2 heart tricks and the king of trumps. Declarer will have to lose only the ace of diamonds, because after the over-ruff with the king, declarer is now in a position to be able to draw all the remaining trumps. There's not one out there that's a problem for him. So there went his trump loser on what was essentially a heart loser here in the dummy. So 2 losers were telescoped into 1. If that makes any sense. All of a sudden now, since he has over-ruffed, we've got the king and the queen gone. That means my ace and jack can draw all the remaining trump without any problem. I make my 3-spade bid. But if West doesn't over-ruff, South's going to have to go to the board, take a finesse, play in the jack. It will lose to the king. He'll play the ace, hoping that the trumps break 2-2. When they don't, the 10 is now the master card. And in addition to 2 heart tricks, 2 spade tricks, and the diamond ace, that means the contract is down 1. In this case, do not over-ruff. This is not the situation where the guideline applies. So you should not over-ruff in this case. And sure enough, that works out. Here's another example. You know, it's really hard to get past the idea that seems logical initially. And I always thought when I was first learning that if I had a card higher than the declarer's trump and I had the opportunity to over-ruff, that I should do it. There's no telling how many contracts I gave away. No telling. Now, in this case, South is playing 4 spades. West leads the 9 of hearts. He doesn't have any better choices. Diamonds don't offer any hope. Clubs don't offer any hope. They're playing spades, and he sure doesn't want to finesse his king. So the top of a doubleton is more or less what's left. That doesn't make it a great lead, but in this situation, it's probably his best choice. So he leads the 9 of hearts. East will take the king and then the ace and return a 3rd round. He can see his partner's high-low signal. Now, with ace, queen, jack, 10 of trumps, South, if he's not a rank beginner, will not ruff with a 4. He'll ruff with a queen, jack, or 10. He'll ruff high. Should West over-ruff? What do you think? This time he's got 4 trump. Even if he over-ruff, doesn't he have a good chance of getting a trick with the 9 or not? What do you think?
According to the guideline, he should not.
That's right, and that works perfectly. Even though he has 4 of them with king 9 this time instead of 3 of them with king 10, it is still right to discard. Same thing happens that happened on the previous hand. South can now go to the board with a club, lead a spade, hoping that good old opening bidder over here. Well, I don't know. Did he open the bidding's not here? Sorry, I didn't write it down. Hoping that East has the king of spades. So he leads low. He's used the queen already. So he plays the jack or the 10. Now you can take your king. When he plays the ace and then the 10, the 3 and the 2 are gone, but that leaves the 9 as the master card. Once again, it's right not to over-ruff. You get 2 tricks from this holding instead of just 1. I think that's just miraculous. And I'm going to be totally honest and say it never would have occurred to me if somebody hadn't told me. If somebody hadn't told me several years ago, I'd still be over-ruffing at every opportunity, I guarantee, and giving away lots of contracts. Now,
so Susan, the rule is king doubled. Say
king
the rule.
Doubleton, queen low doubleton, queen low tripleton. Over-ruff. Otherwise, discard. Discard. That's a guideline. Now, that means that it's going to be right most of the time. If it were a rule, it would be right pretty much all the time. Even something like the law of total tricks typically delivers maybe a 65 to 70% success rate. Well, in the game of bridge, I'll take that. I'll take that because so many plays and so many techniques only deliver something like a 45 to 50 or even 55% chance of success. I like things that give me the 60%, 65%, 70% chance of success. Nothing works all the time in this game, as we all know. So, I mean, you may have plenty for game and not be able to make it to save your life. But that's just part of the nature of this. Now then, here we have one spade by East, South passes, West bids a no trump, and North jumps in here with 2 hearts. East says, well, I can top that, and bids 2 spades. South passes, West passes. North bids 3 clubs. He's not finished. He's got a Michaels type hand here, and he wants to show both of his suits. East says, go away already. I'm tired of this. 3 spades. Everybody passes after that. Now then, South leads the Jack in his partner's suit. He doesn't particularly want to lead the second suit. He has a sneaking suspicion that the defenders may be short in it, but he's short in the heart suit, and so he's hoping to get a rush here, or be able to help his partner collect the tricks. Now then, he leads the Jack, and lo and behold, it holds the trick, because here's the queen in the dummy, and partner has the ace king sitting over the queen, so the Jack holds the first trick. Now he leads the 2. Partner wins the 8. Partner wins the 8. No reason to play a high card, because the Jack's gone, and he can see the queen here, and he has the 10, 9, 8. So he wins the 8. Well, actually, it'd probably be the 9, since this is the second round, depending on what card North played here to the first trick. Now, back comes the ace of hearts, and Declarer ruffs with the 9 of trumps. Should South over-ruff with the ace and 2 small? I mean, he's got the 8. He's got the 8. He sees only 1 here in the dummy, and it's the 2, for goodness sake. So what should he do? Should he ruff with the ace, or should he discard something?
Discard.
Yes, absolutely discard. Absolutely discard. Declarer leads the trump queen to the next trick. Should South take the ace now? Would you be tempted? I would, but then I'd think, no, wait a minute, my partner bid. My partner bid freely at the 2 level. He's got hearts over there. He's got clubs. He may have something in spades also. And remember the guideline for playing the second hand, unless you need the lead right away because you or your partner have the setting tricks in your hand, play second hand low. So once again, South should play. He should play low. He should not have over-ruffed the first time, and this time he does not cover the queen. What's really embarrassing, and has happened to me more than once, is I forget that guideline of second hand low, and I put that ace on the table all pleased with myself, and down comes my partner's singleton king. Ask me how foolish I feel then. I feel very foolish. My partner's not happy with me either. When I had the opportunity to play second low and I didn't, I have to explain myself, and to be honest, I have no good explanation. So the answer here is to play low. Needs to play low, definitely. Well, partner's going to jump up here with the king. Play another heart. I mean, when you've got the declarer on the ropes with the suit, keep leading that suit. See if you can't shorten his trumps. Make him use a high trump to avoid the over-ruff. So he leads another heart, and once again, declarer ruffs with a high trump. Should South over-ruff? What do you think? Watch what happens if you don't. If you don't over-ruff, East holds the trick and puts the next highest honor on the table. Now he's got his queen, jack, 10, and 9 are all going to be gone, because you can take the ace now, and the 8 is now the master card in the suit. Did you ever think sitting there that you're going to get a trick with the 8 of spades? I wouldn't have. I would have thought there's no way in the world I'll ever get a trick with the 8 of spades. But if you're patient and you take your losses early, in bridge, when you're defending especially, it's important to take your losses early and to be patient, particularly when you're defending no trump. But in this case, resist the urge to over-ruff the first time, resist the urge to hop on the ace, and resist the urge to over-ruff the second time the heart comes around. All of a sudden, you have 2 heart tricks, 2 trump tricks, 2 trump tricks, 2 heart tricks, and 3 trump tricks, the ace, the 8, and the king, 3 trump tricks, 2 heart tricks, 1 trick set. It looks for all the world like Declarer can make 3 spades without breaking a sweat. But what South has to do here with his lousy little 5 points is be patient and not be anxious to over-ruff. This is a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. Your natural inclination is to jump in there and take the trick. But remember, if you were going to get a trick with the king of trumps anyway, it's not going to go anywhere. The ace of trumps certainly isn't going to go anywhere either. Ace of trumps, as I said earlier, is like your money. It's a trick, but you can only spend it once. If you spend it at the right time, you get great dividends returned. Now, one more example here. This one gets a little bit involved, but it's interesting. It's along the same lines of what we've been talking about. South opens the bidding here, and this is kind of strange bidding. This is robot bidding. Looks what robot bidding looks like to me. But 1 spade by South, West passes, North bids 1 no trump, even though he doesn't like to, with a singleton in his partner's suit. East passes, and South says 4 hearts, giving his partner a choice between hearts and spades, basically. Partner chooses hearts by passing. All right. Opening leads to king of diamonds. That sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? He leads the king of diamonds. I would not fault him for leading a trump because Declarer's in his second suit. And you can be pretty certain that not all those spades are winners. But he leads the king of diamonds. That works, South trumps the second one. The first one went by. He trumped the second one with a small diamond. He then cashed the ace of spades. Led a small spade to the ace, small club back to the ace of clubs, cashed the king of spades, and led the jack. Now, he could have let it ride, taking a roughing finesse, but he chose to trump instead. He couldn't possibly have known for sure that the queen was over here in West's hand, but he led the jack and trumped it, trying to set up the suit. Notice he's got several outstanding here, so he's going to have to trump several times. All right. Look at this holding over here in the East hand. Should East over-ruff that spade, that third round of spades? He's got king, queen, 10. According to the guideline, what should he do? What should he do?
Over-ruff.
You think so?
No, who knows?
Not over-ruff.
Well, in this case, according to the guideline, he has a king and 2 smaller ones. Now, they're not small, but he has 3 cards under it. So does the guideline apply here?
No.
No, it doesn't. And I'm going to tell you right now that this hand was defended by a very famous man, very famous bridge player named David Berkowitz. And he doesn't know from guidelines. What he has are years and years of experience. so that when he sees this kind of situation, he knows what to do. He did not over-ruff. He discarded a club. He did not want to shorten his trumps. That would help South keep control of the trump suit. Notice, his trump suit's a little anemic here. It's going to be really easy for him to lose control here. All right, now then, South leads a trump to his ace. Pardon me, just a minute.
Call from
On that third spade, he discarded a club and then led a trump to his ace. Off the board here. Remember, South led the jack of spades and trumped it. East did not over-ruff. Now he leads a heart to his ace, and he ruffed another spade in the dummy. Once again, if East over-ruffs, he helps South keep control of the heart suit. East discarded again. Man, talk about nerve. I don't know. I'd be scared to death I'd go to bed with that king, queen of hearts. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think this takes a lot of nerve or a lot of experience, one of the two. Now, South's almost done for the day. He ruffed a club into his hand for 8 tricks, but he can't take but one more. If he leads a trump, South's going to draw the rest of his trump and score a good club trick at the end. When South actually led one of his good spades, which are now set up, now West ruffed, and East ended up getting the king, queen of trumps for down 1. This was defended sitting in the East position there by David Berkowitz, a longtime partner of Larry Cohen. I think that is one of the finest examples of making good choices on defense I've ever seen. It's incredible that he was able to beat this thing the way he did. I mean, the rest of us mere mortals, no doubt, would have allowed South to make the bid. But that's why he gets paid the big bucks, folks, and why he puts out sample hands for us all to look at and learn from. Does anybody have any questions about any of this? I don't expect anybody to get this from a hand like this, from this guideline. What I hope that it will spur you to do is to go look at some of the stuff that's out there that's been written on this subject. Sometimes it's right to delay your ruff the second time rather than the first. Sometimes it's right to discard. Sometimes it's right to over-ruff immediately. I can't begin to cover all the possible situations in 30 minutes, but I want you all to be aware of the fact that in general, when you have the opportunity to over-ruff, unless you have some kind of guideline to follow, you're going to be giving away a lot of contracts because it's often right not to over-ruff. Anybody have any questions? We have a few minutes for questions.
You know, Susie, this is Debbie. One thing, instead of discarding those clubs, I think I would have discarded something else. I would have thought it was not worthwhile to discard the clubs because there were so many of them.
Well, there were so many of them here in the dummy too. That's the other thing. But I don't know. You know that partner has diamonds. He's led them for you. You think if there's ever a chance that he can get another diamond trick, if South is ever low enough on trumps that you can get away with getting another diamond. And remember, he doesn't have the 8 of diamonds left. The second round was ruffed by the declarer. He started out with a singleton, so he most likely only has the ace of diamonds left. So he probably wouldn't discard a diamond here, at least not that one. And spades, I mean, the declarer is leading spades to try to set up his suit. And if he does that, he's going to end up discarding a club anyway. The thing that you may not be aware of is sometimes when you shorten yourself in one suit like spades there, and then the declarer leads it, the second time and you've discarded one, so you have to discard on that second lead, you have given away the location of missing honors. That's why people often don't like to discard from doubletons, because it can reveal the position of a missing honor. And in this case, leading the ace, the king, and then leading the jack and trumping it is a sure sign that declarer is missing the queen. And so that's why you won't find a lot of the better players discarding a spade in this situation. I understand your question completely. It took me 2 or 3 times of having people explain it to me on why you would discard a low club there rather than a spade. But that's a totally understandable question. Did I make that clear at all?
Yes, kind of. I think I'm going to just have to look at it some more.
That's, well, for instance, say if you discarded one of these spades instead of over-ruffing, by the time the declarer led the third round here, having the jack and 10 here in spades, you would show out. Once again, you're supposed to avoid over-ruffing here. But now the declarer knows exactly how many spades West has, and that also the fact that he has the queen. In other words, you've given the position away completely.
That makes sense, yes.
Yeah, and so that's why when you have a small number of cards in a suit, that you often don't discard from that suit, because you end up having to play off, and then that tells the declarer stuff that maybe you don't want him to know.
I get that part.
Yeah,
That
that's
was an excellent question. That's excellent.
This is esoteric stuff, Debbie. Not stuff that's readily apparent, and it doesn't happen on every hand, and not everybody recognizes it every time it happens even. So, all right. Oh, here's my last slide. Don't just automatically over-ruff. Think for a minute before you do.